Oh, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning in each and every time. As you know, Fridays equals Q&A days. Them Q's and A's, them A's and Q's, it is what it is. It's a chance to give back to you guys for obviously supporting my thing, you know, making sure you're watching the ads first and foremost, obviously subscribing on a serious note, commenting, just engaging with the content. Can't have a Q&A unless you ask questions. So thank you very much for your questions, and enough rambling, let's crack on with what we're actually here to do. Mr. DJ's asked, shout out to him, otherwise known as Expat Gooner. He has said, what's your thoughts on the overall job Raul Sanllehi and Edu have done so far? Good, bad or incomplete, and more time needed before giving a grade? I'll wait. Come on, you know me, my guy, man. I remember your username. We go way back, my guy, from Wade, and I think you're from America, if I'm correct. You was one of the first to buy DG merchandise. I remember everything. But you know me well in the sense that it is probably a bit early. If I had to give it a grade, probably a C and a D, between a C and a D, depending on how I'm feeling on the day. It might be a high D, it might be just a pass mark in terms of a C grade, if I'm honest with you. Because obviously at the start of the season, David Luiz has been an okay defender, but we know what we're getting with David Luiz, and we know his ceiling, and we know what we're getting. He's been in the Prem for a number of years. We know who David Luiz is. But in terms of bringing in a centre-half, yeah, it was a deal, and we might have been reactive rather than proactive, but we brought in a centre-half. Ceballos hasn't worked out, but at the start, it was looking like he'd give us some greater options and whatnot. Pepe is going to need teething problems, but at the time, 70 million, man, we're screaming intent. Regardless of how it pays, how we're paying the payments and the instalments and whatever, we've got to give or take. So the window looked fairly promising. Centre half looks a bit. Obviously, we've brought in Pablo Mari, and time will tell. And Saliba's here next season, so it's probably a D and a C in terms of what I would like. What I would have liked for Arteta to have in January. They didn't bring it in. We'd like to have centre-half earlier. I do think we're still reactive rather than proactive. But then again, you heard Marie and the club say we've been following my man for months. So I'd give it between a C and a D. I don't think it can be any higher than that, to be fair with you. Only time will tell, my guy, to be fair with you. So yeah, between a C and a D at the moment. But WG has asked, if Charlie Patino plays as a deep line playmaker, how is his interception / tackling? Shout out to you, my guy. Another one would go way back. You wouldn't describe him as someone that's robust and as someone that makes tackles, but he's someone that's on that. He's on it, my guy. He's obviously got to improve defensively, but he doesn't shy away from that. He gets stuck in. He's fairly committed. He's not like Wilshere. You know how Wilshere was a bit, short man syndrome. Patino's a bit calmer in the head, but he gets stuck in still. And obviously, he's got the passing range. He's got a wand of a left foot. He's not afraid of that still. And you see him getting better, getting bigger physically as well. Obviously, he's 16, 17. He's a really good player, man. And I think his interception and tackling are decent, man. Because when you describe him, I'd wax lyrical about his on-the-ball abilities, his passing range, his movement, and all these things. But he's on that, my guy. And as a midfielder, you need that. So he's calm with that. David James has asked, what do you think Arteta should work on this winter break? Obviously, still a lot of him. We've turned. I won't say we turned the corner, but we're moving in a decent direction in terms of how we're approaching defending all over the field. So obviously, get more consistent at that, get more improved at that. We're not scoring goals. We're not really taking chances in games and whatnot, as you see. So get back to basics and give these players. Work on some combination play or just scenarios that provoke players to shoot. Because if you don't shoot, you don't score. We're not shooting, really and truly. And regardless of what you say about Pepe, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Mesut Ozil, Ceballos on loan, which was about 4.5 mil, you get it. Whether the man there have played or not, and there's obviously other people are missing out, and all these players are going through different scenarios. But that's over. How much money is that on attacking options, regardless of the current situation we find ourselves in? Scoring goals should not be a problem. Taking chances and having chances shouldn't be a problem. And too many goalies are walking away from games with Arsenal, not really with any dirt on their kit, really and truly. They could probably just fold that up and wear kit man, probably give that to them next game, really and truly. You don't shoot, you don't score. So that would be it, my guy. Jack34 has said, do you think it's a problem that only Arsenal have one player that can dribble, especially when it comes to games away from home? Who would you say is a dribbler? I'm going to say Pepe. I wouldn't say it's a strength of Aubameyang's, but he can carry a ball. Ceballos can carry. Yeah, I see where you're going, because that's what I was hoping. The one thing I was hoping is that obviously you want David Luiz to defend, and David Luiz is Luiz. So Barnes hasn't worked out, and I've just mentioned Pepe. Regardless what you felt about the three, I thought with them, obviously Arteta's just come into the team, but I thought with Arsenal generally, when these men came, because last season we weren't brave on the ball enough, I thought we was going to be brave, because all three in their different scenarios, you would describe as fairly brave on the ball. You're seeing David Luiz passing ability at Chelsea and at Arsenal, and listen, whether it gives us heart attacks or not, he carries the ball quite well. Ceballos needs to learn where to play, in my opinion, but he's a fairly strong dribbler, or someone that relishes the ball and wants to do something with it. Pepe, you see, is a decent dribbler, and at times he's probably a bit too slow with it and can mix it up, and again, question marks. But that's it. And it's only worked out for, really, Luiz is a regular like that. Pepe's rotation option, he's starting games and then he's out and whatnot. He's not the 70 million man playing week in, week out that we was hoping for. So I would say it's that, kind of tying into the other question as well, previous one, in that taking chances and dribbling, it is a bit of a problem. We need players that kind of relish it. That's why I like Martinelli, to be fair with you, because obviously he's not doing pony tricks, but he wants the ball. He's more on getting it into space and that, but he's comfortable with the ball to feet and stuff. And even Saka's not Ronaldinho and that, but he's comfortable with the ball at his feet, and he's fairly positive down the left-hand side. We need to be braver on the ball. You cannot be a member of the top six and not be brave on the ball. Like, you can't be cowards on the ball. I'm not saying we are, but we need to get out of the rut we're in. Trip has asked via Twitter, big up yourself, Trip. You said, is Guendouzi at risk of becoming a jack of all trades, master of none? I sometimes struggle to see what he's particularly wavy at, apart from being a very passionate, determined individual. Harsh, my guy. You know I'm Guendouzi FC, man. I think he's going to be a decent player. Obviously, a bit of it is tied into Carl. I was watching him at Lorient, and Mana's reputation to a degree is on the line. But banter aside, I'll just say a jack of all trades, you know, my guy, because it's not like Maitland now. Carl Maitland, 1 minute he's technically played right wing off the bench, full-back thing since he's come into the first team like you're seeing. Obviously, you describe him as a midfielder. That's a jack of all trades. I get what you mean, because sometimes you've actually seen Guendouzi the deepest lying. You've seen a flat midfield and it looks like he's the cam in the team. You've seen him do box to box. I'd say he needs to define, like a lot of midfielders in today's day and age, specifically what midfielder are they? They can, obviously, for me, you nail down one thing, like I'm a deep lying, I'm a defensive mid, I'm this, I'm that. And then once you've got one thing locked down, you then can, bring things in. I think one thing with today's day and age is there's too many grey areas with Dons. And Guendouzi, I describe him, he's a deep line playmaker to me, but he has got the ability to be a bit more box to box, not in the box to box aggression like Joe or Maitland, but in that he can get up and down. He'll need to get goals and assists of some quality, and I think he's got that pass on him. Personally, I see him as a deep line playmaker, but he's nowhere near professional enough on the ball. I think he lets his naivety get the best of him at times, and I think defensively is where his biggest problems lie. He's a young player. I think people got to be easy with him, and it's almost a gift and a curse to his ability that they've kind of disregarded that he's only 2021. But he's played enough games to know what you're doing wrong and try and improve. I think there's a player in there. I'm not here to say man's going to be world class and all these things. I'm not here for that. I just think he can be a decent player. If he gets his head down, he can be a regular at Arsenal. I'm not here to say he can be World Cup winner and these things, but I see no reason as to why long term he can't get a cap or two for France. That's just my opinion. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It is what it is, but can't begrudge a man for an opinion still. But love for your question, Trip, man. Moving away from your question, though, that's material for our next vid. Tessa said, Italy 2006 or Germany 2014? Italy, bro. Don't get twisted. 2014 was a mad World Cup still, but for me, 2006 from the theme tunes. Obviously, Brazil didn't win it, but Brazil, Zidane. Obviously, Zidane was a beautiful story in itself, people. He was on his last legs, and he was just. It weren't Zidane in his prime, but that tournament was Zidane's, innit? And you saw other man doing dirt, but it was Zidane's. Obviously, you know how it ended in the World Cup, and it would have made for in the final. Sorry, it would have made for a good final. But what's that Brazilian song? Ooh, Mariano, hua hua hua. Hey, that was the first thing playing in my head. Shout out to Mesut Ozil for winning in Germany, though. But no, man, I'd say 06 still. 06, man. A lot of nostalgia comes with that one, my dude. Provided that's the question you're actually asking me, which World Cup was better. Or if you're talking about the two teams that would face each other and win, I don't know, man. Italy done a job still. If the winners of both World Cups were to play each other, it's a tough one still. I'm gonna go with Italy, man. Nah, I'm gonna go with Germany. I'm gonna go with Germany if that's what you're asking me. I've confused myself, but let's move on. Nonetheless, love for your question, dude. Emmanuel said, "Who do you think we'll see? Sorry, who do you think we'll see the most improvement from after? Who do you think we'll see the most improvement from after the winter break?" I made a million of that question, my dude. But how long's a piece of string, my guy? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm hoping, because of the question marks and the scapegoating this and everything and the doubts and whatnot with the fans, and has to be himself. I hope Lacazette, really. I'd hope Lacazette gets a goal or two, because it's never nice to see a man like that. I don't know, my guy. I don't know, man. I hope it's either Laka or Guendouzi. There's no point me saying Martinelli and Saka and the guys who are good anyways, but not a clue, man. Hope it's one of them. I hope it's the defenders. Anyone in defence, from Mustafi to Luiz and Socrates, regardless of form. Hope it's them. Who knows? It might be, it could be a turning point for Ceballos, Carl. 1 minute he wants to bust out, then we're hearing Arteta's not feeling him, then he is. It's almost a pre-season of sorts. Your countrymen, you're both Spanish. You're going to be in an environment where it's very intimate between the team, where they've got their family and that, and you can understand each other away from the football field and connect. And with that, maybe Ceballos will get a look in. You see what I'm saying? Who knows, man? Arteta seems to be the Una Emre to Mesut Ozil at a time. But moving on, Emza said, "What do you think Arsenal need to do to become a title-winning team, from player sales to signings to hierarchy?" Bro, that's a mad thing, I'm just a fan in my room. I don't know, my dude. But love for the question. I'd say first and foremost, the mentality. Man, I gotta want to be winners, from the owners to the players. If the owner wants to be a winner, then everything trickles down. Do you get it? If the manager wants to, like with Spurs, obviously they're doing their thing, but I felt for Spurs, it became a point where you're looking at Levy to sign a couple players to assist Kane and Eriksen, and that team, when it was in its prime, you could see the fans wanted it. The players, you hear Danny Rose was talking in the Sun and all these things. They obviously knew it. The manager must have known it. When a team is 1 or 2 away, because look at Liverpool. Klopp is one thing, but go and look how they're selling players, how they're retaining players for homegrown and, pushing the commercial boundaries and all of these things. It's a collective effort. So you've got to do a thing like that. From player sales, there's not much we can do. In fact, right now, or the next year, if we're serious, and I'm not going to be naive because we're not going to get rid of everyone, but I'd say a year, you need to get rid of everybody you define as deadwood, and everyone with a smidge of doubt over their futures, whether they're the top goal scorers of this club, players that have been here for over how many years and made 250 appearances, or just players that were brought to play in defence and just never hit the heights. They certainly make a decision over, for whatever reason, whatever players got, whatever. If you're not signing new deals or you're not doing this thing, we got to make some tough decisions. And then we go back to basics. You go and fix up the spine. Give Leno some decent defenders with age on their side as well to move forward with. Because Leno ain't even had a stable back 4-5, including him, since he's landed at Arsenal. You fix up the back 5. You identify the midfield. Collective effort with getting back to scoring goals and things like that. You allow Arteta to do his thing in the coaching, but we need foresight. Right now, everybody could see, let's say this, I hope they're sitting down, Aubameyang's a quality player and, a linchpin in our side. There needs to be foresight. Are you going to give him that money and he's going to sign that new deal? If not, tough decisions need to be made. Going to sell, man, fans might cry. Who else is coming in to do this thing? Do you get it? Because every player, unless you're Messi and then man, they're are thingy, replaceable. And I'm not scapegoating Aubameyang. I'm just saying tough decisions need to be made because there's always uncertainty about this side. So for the next year or so, that's it. And you've got the mentality at the top, it could be anything from a year or 3, people. Really and truly. I'm not talking about Arsenal, I'm talking in general. I've written off the next 4 or 5 years. All my miracles are with Arteta, my guy, realistically. You've now asked another question, shout out to you. You've said, should we get rid of Lacazette and bring in Grealish with Aubameyang up top? Finally, love your channel. The work rate is mad. Shout out to you, my guy. Wouldn't say the two are necessarily correlated, but I'd definitely be up for bringing in Grealish. Come on, man. I'm sure he said Emirates was one of the best grounds he played at. Can we afford him? Who knows? But I'm a fan of Grealish, man. Lacazette, again, he's someone with a question mark over his career. Here, decision needs to be made. I've missed out a question from you. Apologies. You've said, we all know Pepe has potential if he adapts to the league, but do you think he can adapt to the league? I personally think so. I mean, it's down to him how good he wants to be. Listen, he can become a competent player, but we didn't buy him to be a competent, okay option. We bought him to be a main player. So he needs, for me, to get to a level where he can get 10 goals, 10 assists. I wouldn't say I'm giving man a free pass, because I critique and praise his performances where due, but it's his first year. He never had a pre-season. All the psychological waffle that goes into that sort of stuff. I think there's a player in there, because I've seen it. I think for him, he's going to need to find variety in his play, because sometimes there's games where he just needs to go past his man. Just mash up your man. You don't need to go past him and stop the ball and then do these things. Sometimes he wants to come inside a bit too much and be a bit too intricate. I think he really needs to understand his teammates and whatnot. Obviously, at a time, we've moved on from Emery, but there's not too many attacking players that are thriving now because of the long-lasting effects of Emery. But under Emery, you know, our players were shackled and they were moving a bit mad. So I think it's down to Pepe. It's down to him, because Arteta can protect you. He can do what he wants, but it's down to him. Clearly, Arteta believes in him, but Arteta shouldn't be considering. It should be unthinkable that he benches his £50 million man. He should be like a Torreira in that, you know. Obviously, Arteta benched him in the last game, so it's a crap example. But you know, Torreira's almost, he's not in your team, especially in a big game. It's unthinkable. There's been big games, top 6 games. Forget, I could be wrong, but Pepe actually hasn't started. Do you get it? I like Pepe, but do you see what I'm saying? We know he's a better player right now than Nelson and these man, but is he glaringly a better option? For me, it's Martinelli, Aubameyang and Pepe right now up front. But should it really be Pepe? Beyond that, I think he's the one to play. Someone says, yo, why him and not Nelson? What can I say? I can't say nothing. Martinelli speaks for himself. Saka speaks for himself. Aubameyang speaks for himself. Leno speaks for himself. Lacazette, once upon a time, spoke for himself. Do you get it? As fickle as football is, you start putting in performances, it's calm. But that's how it is, people. It's down to him. But moving forward, man, love for your questions. Charlie has said, what type of midfielder would you buy in the summer? 6 and 8, etc. And whom? I'd go for some more 8, or I'd buy a 6 and an 8, to be fair with you. I'd go for some more box-to-box midfielder. In terms of an 8 for me is a goal-scoring midfielder of sort. I'm not really sure off the top of my head who they'd be. I'm more inclined to think about as a 10 with Yari Vestishin and things like that. I do think Szoboszlai can play both roles. I think he'd be better as an 8, so I'd go for him from Salzburg. I'd go for both if the Peas is there. Saeed has said, Saka left back or left wing? I think he can be a winger long term if he can get goals and assists, because he seems good in there, but you can't rule out the fullback thing. I know he hates it playing there, and you wouldn't know it, such as his attitude and his ability, but I think he can be a winger. It's an interesting one. It's down to him, really and truly. He'll need to get goals and assists as a winger, really. That's what will come down to it. Because if he's, you know, he'll have to be able to get goals and assists. That's what Iwobi, that's ultimately the sword Iwobi lived and died by here. Nelson, it will happen to Nelson's goals and assists. If you're out there and you're not getting that, then you're not going to really have a role at the club unless you're going to be a squad don. But I think Saka can be a very good player for us and get 10 goals at 10 assists minimum. That's the benchmark you always hear me refer to, dudes. But it's my opinion. Moving on, it says, Deluded, what do you think about Renato Sanches? Watched his performance the other day. I really feel him still, you know. I'm not going to lie to you, my guy. I think he's a decent player. I was once upon a time, you know, falling by the hype of him. But then, you know, you watch a man sometimes, you're like, nah, man, you're not my cup of tea still. But fair play for getting his career on track. And if you say you watched him the other day, he must have played okay. Sayit has said, do you think it was bad because he has come back from an injury and just needs more game time? These games is very good for his development, as you are saying, to improve from. Don't know where I printed that off for the context on, my guy. I can't even answer that. My apologies, no, I'm trying to help you up, but who's come back from injuries at Arsenal? Might be Holding. I don't know, my guy. I don't know. But Anthony has said, how has Xavi Amici been? Apologies for that, people. Always make sure you've wiped all memory cards before you start recording. So prior to that blip, sorry people, for those who weren't tuned in at the time, Anthony asked how our ex-player or ex-winger Xavi Amici was doing at Hamburg. Personally, I'm not watching him religiously, but even yesterday actually, I was disappointed. I tuned into It was I can't even never say the name, but VfB Bochum, I believe, Osei Tutu's club against Xavi Amichi's Hamburg. Neither player played. In fact, Tutu weren't in the side at any capacity. Amici didn't come off the bench. And right now, it'd be fair to describe him as a squad player. He gets minutes. He has started a game, I believe, but he's not a regular. He's not a first choice option. And, you know, he's still inexperienced. He's still learning. And at the end of the day, it's better than being under 23s because this experience will help him. It's actually, obviously, it's good for all of us because I miss Amici. I'd love him to stay, but at the end of the day, Martinelli and Saka are there. We've let Amici go. We've got sell-on value. If he develops as that player, which I want him to, so that we ask one day why he was sold, then that's one we'll have to answer. But I think it's better than being on the 23s because what would it be? You might go on a loan here and there. You know, at least at Hamburg, you're in a first-team environment. You're competing. You know, you're competitive. Right now, he hasn't earned a starting lineup shirt for whatever reason, but he can one day. It's better than playing on the 23s. What would he have learnt, for instance, being part of the team that lost 3-0 the other day? Arsenal versus Liverpool's under 23s. Do you get it? Under 23s a graveyard, so he's learning, but he's not there yet. So yeah, man. Hopefully he gets there in due time. But moving away from that, Blanco has said, after Eric Bidal's comments about Barcelona's interest in Aubameyang and Lacazette not being in good form with only 2 years remaining, what's your honest opinion on what will happen with the strikers dilemma? I think both will stay, just on the basis of we should really make a decision in that summer, but I just think Arsenal will sit on their hands. And I'm really looking at Raul Sanllehi because he said last 2 years of any deal, you can't run down, the decision will have to be made. So it's now to back check. We'll have to see. Jack has also said, do you think Nico at 10 would be a bad idea? Maybe as a second striker, but not officially as a 10, like a Ozil thing. Games has said, realistically, do you think our season is dead? And if we should focus on playing youth? Focus on just Arteta implementing his game plan with the young and experienced players he wants to move forward with. Miracles, you have to rely on it, but we're 10 points out of top 4. We don't know if we're going to pick up a win in our next game or put any consistency together. So that's, in that sense, the league is dead. Europa League, you have to take it seriously and hope for a miracle. Apologies, people. So we'll have to see what happens. Young Hefe said, what do you think about Jurgen Klopp not attending the recent Liverpool Cup game? Well, he said he wanted to give the under-23 boss experience, and he did. It can be seen as disrespectful, potentially it is, but yeah, man, that's my opinions on it, really. Tavin has said, I think you said, do we need a future DM to be tall and physical like Parley, Sangria and Rocker? Well, I'd like someone 6 foot, big and butch like Vieira. To be fair, Vieira wasn't the biggest. He was, well, in height he was, but he weren't where Messi, at the time he was quite skinny, but he knew how to use his body and he was strong. So yeah, I would, listen, if we can find someone that's 4'11" that could do that, then why not? But yeah, you'd be inclined to believe you need someone kind of butch in that position still. Trying to find the other questions because we're moving through these at a good pace. Sam Allardyce has said, can Arsenal win the Europa League? If they apply themselves, why not? Can we finish in the top 4? By God's grace, hopefully, but I doubt it, barring a miracle. Let's Talk has said, what's your opinion on Dali Almo going to RB Leipzig? Gutted, mate, because he was there at Zagreb. You saw him against Frankfurt. He scored people, a decent goal. And he'll eventually play in one of the, well, he will eventually play in either Spain or England or one of them nations there, or maybe even at Juventus, one of them sort of leagues there, in my opinion, potentially even PSG. I think he's destined for the big clubs one day. So just let him develop, I guess. Lamelo has said, do you know any up-and-coming centre-backs from our youth academy who have really good potential and can make it to the first team? I really like Zayn Monluis. He's an under-16. Still very raw. Got a lot of... I've seen him make a couple mistakes, but he's lovely on the ball. He's very composed. He knows how to track men. He relishes defending, and he's very much the modern-day centre-half. Like I said, he's 16, so it's down to him to work hard, but I really like him. So they said, will Arteta grow balls and bench Ozil, Mustafi and Xhaka? I know Xhaka's kind and willing to help out in any position. Woulda, shoulda, coulda sold and got an actual DM in the window, but still not good enough for Arsenal. The other two have no shout for still being on the field, even in the bench. Ask Giroud how retirement feels. Right, man. And that was a lot. Do you know what? We could say that, but at the end of the day, if he wants to use them, he's got to use them. And Mustafi, for me, shouldn't play, but at the end of the day, I think he showed me why he shouldn't play because he makes these mistakes, but he's been relatively decent in form. And in the recent game, he was actually one of the man of the match, if not the man of the match. I don't know if it's the do-rag he was wearing in training, but yeah. Xhaka might divide opinions, but if you're non-biased, Xhaka's one of the first names on the team sheet right at the moment. I would like someone to play ahead of Xhaka and play with Torreira, but Xhaka earns his spot. And for me, Xhaka would be a rotation option, but he's earned his spot and he's backing up Arteta's defence of his. 14 Gooner said, I'm really happy with Arteta, but at the same time, you need to ask why he didn't play Pepe and he put Martinelli on the right. Should we not experiment with 18-year-olds who have just hit form? On one hand, Martinelli has to learn how to play across all the front three, people. Let's be realistic. And if we won, we wouldn't be talking about it. But ifs and buts, we deal with the facts. I agree with you first and foremost. Saka and Martinelli, they had a good thing going. They're in good form. Good little thing going for themselves. And why disrupt it? Aubameyang scores goals. He's back from his ban. Play them in their right positions. I would have played Pepe as well. He wanted to go with Lacazette for whatever reason, whether that's defensive contributions, which statistically in poor form or not, Lacazette strikes quite high for winning the ball back and all them sort of stats there. But I think it's a case of Lacazette. I don't think Lacazette's form really justifies playing him, my guy. If he was, if Lacazette was scoring goals and Aubameyang scoring goals and Martinelli scoring goals and Pepe scoring goals, then by all means try play 4-4-2, play them all, or force Aubameyang and Lacazette into the side. But if someone's clearly, I get he wants to play in free form and he's tried, it might be time to just take him out the side a bit and whatnot. But he knows more than me, and like he said, I'm still happy with him. Aaron has said, do you think back three in possession is slowly becoming a thing in modern football? I wouldn't say that. I'd say football works in cycles and it's really repeating itself. D Solo has said, when you're going to get live streams popping, let the people them know. That put me on the spot. At 20k, we'll see what we can do, man. When we hit 20k, where's my slider, man? I'm even mad. My slider's disappearing like Ozzy, but it's back. Yeah, man, so 20k, we'll see what we can do. Liam Douglas has said, a lot of people saying that Saka should be made a left back, but I disagree because I know how he's a bit two-footed. Wouldn't agree with being two-footed, my guy. But I believe he can make a top-class winger in the future. So do I, my dude. I think I kind of answered that earlier. Daniel B has said, do you think Arteta is sacrificing your attacking players to get many men behind the ball, which makes the defence look better? No, I wouldn't, my guy. I wouldn't at all. I'd say these players still have to unlearn habits, and there's a lot of things that Emre's left in this team, but we're not shooting enough. We need to start shooting. It's down to Arteta to implement attacking phases of play, but we're still very much imbalanced in midfield and in the attacking sense when you talk about purely the attacking phase of play. So I wouldn't say no. He's shown anyways that he's fairly capable of trying to play us in an attacking sense and go forward, but defence has to be done, and we need to win the ball back with our strikers first and foremost. They're our first line of defence essentially. Moving forward though, shout out to you. Faris has said, other than the centre-half positions, what do you think the club should invest and change in the summer? Make a decision over Aubameyang and Lacazette. Make a decision. I would like a central midfielder. Personally, yeah, I'd say central midfield. In fact, probably two central midfielders. If we fixed up everywhere, I'm actually down, and I actually don't think we should buy a winger. But if there's that player that's evidently better than what we have, that top quality player like Wenger said, then I think we need that, because I feel looking at Liverpool, again, we're a long way away from that side. They've got many difference makers. Fair enough, Firmino statistically might not score too much, but for me, apologies, he's a difference maker. Mane, difference maker. Salah, difference maker. Behind them, the less glamorous, of course. Henderson in his own way is a difference maker, but Wijnaldum, I think, is the most underrated at Liverpool, in my humble opinion. He'll pop up with a goal or two. You need man like that to kind of turn up, essentially. So if we can get a goal-scoring midfielder or someone that's a bit more, tries to break lines and whatnot, if we can get a defensive mid, I'm all for that. So probably two of them. If we can get a brave winger that's top quality and can be done and the money's there and he's evidently better than everybody that we've got, I'm all for that. It's Medji has said, DG, in the past 5 or 6 months we're complaining about defence. Now that defence is playing well and attack is gone, in which way should Arteta implement getting us back to winning games? We do need to shoot more, but defence is not back by any stretch, my guy. we're defending better, but doesn't mean it's all the way there. It's not of the level that we need it, and we can't be there overnight, but we still got to work on that. The players first and foremost have to be brave. They've got to take shots. Football's a simple game, take shots. But I guess again, on the training ground, it's down to attacking phases of play and provoking that spark to take shots or get into goal scoring opportunities, people. So it is what it is in that regards. Diabolical has said, DG, I know you've watched a lot of youth football over the years, but my question is, has there been a player who you didn't particularly rate and is now a top class level player and has completely surprised you at how good they are now? Wish I've done my homework on that, because there's been a few. I wouldn't say I thought he was rubbish or nothing, but Trent Alexander-Arnold really surprised me, because it was like literally 1 week watching him against Arsenal's under-23s at the Emirates. Then he's in the first team. I'd say Highland, because you could see he was a good player, and I've already told you, like, I learned a lot in my game, because if I was a scout and I was at the under-20s championship, I would have put a positive report about Highland and stuff, but I would have probably passed on putting the money down at the table, and now look what he's done. So I'd say that. There's a couple, you know. There's been a couple at Chelsea, I'm trying to think. Put me on the spot. I think Lingard's done as well to last at United as he has. Scott McTominay, to be fair, because I remember his debut against Arsenal. There's a couple. I wish I thought about this. That's a good question. Harry Maguire, because I actually didn't see Harry Maguire being this. I think he was a good centre-half, and I know he'd get bantered in that, but no, I didn't think he'd reach England level. I think he could be a good centre-half, but I didn't think England level. I would have still wanted him at Arsenal. It's a good question, you know. Nathan Redmond, to a degree, I didn't think he'd be a Premier League footballer. I'd say him. That's a good one, man. Should have done my homework. That's a good one, and you're always asking good questions. Shout out to you, Diabolical. Daniel Beer said, anyways, man. He said, DG, stop complaining about lack of resources. Now you're a big Premier League baller scoring volleys on your debut. He's talking about Birds, right? I mean, this guy, man. Antonio Banker said, what's your best youth 11 at the moment? There is no youth 11 at the moment, my dude. Sorry to disappoint you. You've also asked me, however, can you give me an explanation as to how Sheffield United signed Sander Berge, putting the money on the table? I mean, it's a bit like Ndombele to Chelsea and a couple of other moves. You're wondering why other teams didn't make the move, or why they were delaying, or why he picked Sheffield. No disrespect, Carl. He could have genuinely just wanted to sign for Sheffield, but he was linked with Liverpool and clubs like this, so only they could tell you, but he's got the perfect platform to build on, people. I don't know what word I was trying to say. Marcus said, well gone, DG. If you are Arteta and got given 100 mil to spend, who would you get? Keep up the good work, my brother. Shout out to you, Mark. Really, 100 million ain't going to get us far in today's day and age, but I'd put the 45 or something down for Samore, and I'd put a change down for Szoboszlai of Salzburg. Hopefully, I'd like to think my 100 mil could get me them two midfielders, really and truly, and if it can't, I have to go elsewhere, my G. Probably that. Sound a bit hypocritical, because on another day, centre-half, I like Upamecano and I'd bring him, but if I'm really honest, out of the Salzburg, two young French dons, my favourite is really Canute, so probably get that one done. Maybe bring in a lower profile centre-half as well that's competent to a degree, people. So that would be what I'd do. Dwayne Williams has said, DG, hope you've had a good week. Do you think Arsenal are going to back Arteta this summer? If we don't make top 4, they have to back him. They have to. I don't know, my guy. Admittedly, I'm very pessimistic when it comes to Arsenal, but I hope so. They have to. Why bring a man in if you're not going to back him? Hopefully, man. Brian Griffin has said, as quick as Aubameyang is, I struggle to remember a goal he scored for Arsenal due to his pace. It's just brilliant positioning. I'm seeing encouraging signs of instinct in Martinelli. To what extent do you think this thing can be trained? I swear I answered this last week, people. I do think it can be trained, but I actually think 90% of that stuff is born in you. I think Aguero, Aubameyang, well, sounds silly because Aubameyang, I remember when Aubameyang, no disrespect, was a bit of a journeyman and weren't a good footballer, and I don't know about his statistics then, but I wouldn't say he was necessarily a natural goal scorer. Now it looks like he does, and statistically it might be backed up, but at the time he was a winger, so maybe that instinct can be taught. But I think Martinelli was born in it. I think 90% of it is born in you. Kagger said, DJ, I just want to know how you are and if you're doing well. Thanks, my guy. Everyone knows about the football. No one else is about the guy behind the opinions. Thank you very much for that. I'm good, my guy. I'm in good spirits, man. I'm trying to, keep my head up as crap as life gets for everybody. It gets. Shout out to you, and I hope you and yours are doing it equally as well. Aussie Gooner, however, said, hey DG, how are you? I'm good, my guy. In your opinion, which are the 3 positives Arteta has brought into the club? And if so, could you say 3 negatives? I don't think I can see any negatives so far per se, because I just haven't. First and foremost, the willingness to stand up, to be counted and be a bit braver. The willingness to want to defend a bit. The willingness as well to kind of move back into, trying to play passing football. We've got a long way to go, but I saw that non-existent under the previous regime. So I would say that, my dude. Couple more questions. Sanllehi, forgive me for mispronunciation. You have said, DG, quick question. If you were to lose one between Lacazette and Aubameyang, who would you want to see going? I love both of them, but it's got to be Lacazette, really. I love Lacazette. I think he's a lovely player, but Aubameyang is 20 league goals minimum, and I think that's a minimum requirement for any team that wants to be a top team. You need a striker, regardless of the weather and all this nonsense. He's scoring 20 league goals. I like Lacazette, but Lacazette's not that. If Aubameyang left, do I think Lacazette's capable to lead Arsenal's line for 38 games? No. If Lacazette left, do I think Aubameyang's capable? If I said that right, the correct term, the first one, I think Aubameyang's capable, so he's the one that stays. Decision has to be made over both of them. Dante said, when you're on 20k, you should start doing live streams, my guy. Literally an identical question, my dude. So yeah, man, soon. Your username's not been printed, I apologise, but somebody has said, who would you say are good academy prospects? Would you say our good academy prospects are better or worse than the prospects that you're scouting from other clubs? There's a couple super players, of course, man. Like the guy that went to Inter Milan, what's his name? Aguirre, I can't say his name. He's better than what we have, really. I love Aziz. I think Aziz is level at this moment in time. And I'm always going to say that. But I'd say it's hard, man. I'd say a couple are, and I just more, yeah, man. I'd say a couple are, and some are more smart investments. MJ said, DG, I want to put this to you and I hope you read this. What do you think about Saliba becoming our holding midfielder? Every time I watch him, which is a lot more these days, I can't shake that he would make an awesome presence in midfield at the base. He also bosses his opponent with relative ease and not a man to be trifled with. You wouldn't say that if you saw him in his last game, but on a serious note, I agree. I don't know, my guy, man. I must admit, I'm not kind of feeling the midfield shout, but you never know, a man's career can work out. I'm just trying to hear centre half, really and truly. But the way you've put it, I guess there's logic behind it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm trying to hear him at centre half, my dude. But who knows, man? I don't think he could be like Vieira, but I see where you get it. He kind of bit of a Rolls Royce strolling with the ball out. He could be doing that in midfield. It's a bit of a different ball game, and I'm so sure he played further forward in his career. So you never know. It could be a shout. Watch that space. But I'm trying to hear Saliba centre half, my guy, man. I just want a decent, competent back four at Arsenal. The striving Finetcher said, I keep thinking I've got the questions on here. It's a habit. People need to stop touching it. Have you been following Benassia's development at Milan, and if so, how high do you think his ceiling is? I think he can become a top-class player, and he's been developing well. I think of late, whenever I get in, he's been more of a regular, and when I say regular, making more of an importance on the field. Before it did at times look like he's a bystander, but his development's been phenomenal since he's left Arsenal, people. Yeah. I actually think we're at the end. Well, for some reason I thought there were more questions, but nonetheless, yeah, everyone's got answered. You see, we go hell and beyond to get you your questions answered, people. So as usual, I appreciate that, man. So however long we've been here, just know I appreciate it. I don't want to take up any more of your time. It's been a lovely Q&A. Please get in the comments with more questions so we can go again next week. Look out for the communities tab on YouTube when I ask you to ask the Q&As. I actually ask it on Twitter as well. Or you can comment your question down below in this video and it will get seen. It's not rocket science. Make sure you hit the like. Make sure you hit the subscribe. My description's got all my other socials. Make sure you check out all the other content. Cause I know for some of you diehard DG Nation, this ain't enough, man. You know I'm always spamming up your thing. I see a guy, I believe his name was Ethan. Shout out to you saying you bang out all the... You love it when I spam you, look, you listen to all of it when you're playing your PlayStation. I believe Brian Griffin said that once as well. Shout out to both of you for supporting the thing, man. And while you're streaming it, then make sure that you're making sure the ads are coming in as well, man. Shout out to you lot for that. But on a serious note, it means a lot that you lot rock with me each and every time. Let me stop rambling. People, it's always a pleasure. DG, boom, bow, I'm out. People, Deluded, I'm back again. Now, at this point, you've seen all the other Q&A questions, but this morning I've woke up, I've gone through it, and I've made the Q&A already, but I've seen some other questions, and it just didn't feel right leaving you lot till next week, so you can call this some bonus clips or whatever. You can't say I don't go above and beyond for you guys. Let me not waste any more of your time and actually go and find the screenshotted things I had. There's a couple questions. Troy Townsend, a big friend of mine, he runs the Kick It Out. He runs the Kick It Out organisation. He said, "Why are you so popular?" I don't think I'm popular. I'm not popular enough to do YouTube full time and pursue other things. You lot spam up the ads and whatnot, but I think why I did get a decent reception from people is because I'm first and foremost, I'm a man of the streets, I'm a man of the people. I mean, everybody that's seen me around the Emirates or North London where I live or Central London, I'm a stand-up dude, or I like to think I am. Like, you can identify me as someone that in another life could be your brother or cousin or one of them and stuff, and that's because I don't act like something that isn't me. I see a lot of YouTubers and I know they're not like that, innit? Because you can tell when a man's not like that or when he's not himself, and I feel a lot of people are not themselves, and I think for better or worse, I'm myself, and some people hate me for it, some people love me for it. I mean, the people that love me, big up yourselves. The people that hate me, your girlfriend still love me. Look at this chocolate cocoa face and them thing there. Come on, man, you know what I'm doing, especially after I'm scoring in the Premier League on my debut. You know what happens with the galley for that. But on a serious note, I think yeah, man, I'm just, you know, someone that people can see genuinely likes football, gains nothing from agendas and things like that, holds my hands up when I'm wrong, and just ultimately someone that loves the sport in a pure way. So I'd probably say that's why people mess with the guy. Cali B has asked, I like your name. No, not in a funny man thing. But you said, do you believe Arteta is starting to realise that this task, getting this side back on track in brackets, is bigger and more complicated than he thought from the outside? I don't think Arteta was under any illusions how difficult this task is, but naturally, maybe, because he has made some comments, not necessarily saying that, but in like a culture shock. I think he might have been shocked at the level of potentially the bad habits we picked up on the field, maybe our mentality, maybe in how far he had to go back to basics, because he might have assumed there was a base level he could work with, but he probably had to rip that up. So he probably is shocked and having seen things more firsthand, because obviously everybody can, myself, you, coaches, pundits, everybody not connected with Arsenal can see the problems. Obviously you don't need to be in that environment to see the problems, but if you're exposed to it, you might see it at a different level or see different things that we might not comprehend because we don't see it. So a bit of truth, but I don't necessarily think so, my guy. You said, would it be a good idea to go for Martin Odegaard this summer as an Ozil replacement? Well, potentially we could only get him on loan because he's doing his thing at Sociedad, I believe. Is it Sociedad? Yeah, he is at loan on Sociedad. It'd have to be like a Ceballos thing. We get man on loan and whatnot. Who knows? If they were prepared to let him go permanently, then I'm all for it. But I don't think they will, man. I think it'd be silly because he's finally, to the untrained eye, he's finally showing some promise, in which saw him as a, 15-year-old odd go from Norway to Real Madrid's first team or gradually be integrated into such. So I'd say it could be a shout, but yeah, man, we're probably more likely to go for the same profile in terms of a young player, but maybe not at Madrid, maybe at a lesser team. Pardon me. Thomas said, come the summer, which centre-halves make way for the arrival of our very own Virgil van Maldini from St Etienne? Pick up yourself, man. That made me laugh. He's obviously referring to Saliba, who I think they lost to Marseille yesterday, people. I ain't watched the game. I need to go and watch it or pre-highlights or do something. But I think he played on the left of a back three. We've moved away from a back three, but Arsenal have previously done that. You've also listed the names of the centre halves. You said Pablo Mari, David Luiz, Mavropanos, Holding, Mustafi, Socrates. And it's a difficult one, my dude, because difficult decisions have to be made over the centre half position. I believe Socrates might be the one to leave, to be fair with you, because he's contracted until 2021. He might be one that goes. Holding, I think he's at a crossroads. I think there's a defender in there with him, but he needs to start showing it. I think we should persist with him, and Arteta's bigged him up highly. But if we were to stop being nice and continuing with these projects, because there's previous years and present years, there's a lot of players with potential that we persist with and things. Holding one of them. I think there's a centre half in there, but I know he's had injuries, but he needs to take it up a level now. And if not, he could be alone or find himself gone. Mustafi, for me, should be gone regardless of his form. I think Callum Chambers deserves a space in the side based on how he's been playing personally. Pablo Mari, again, I've watched highlights and things like that for Flamengo, but I don't know how good he's going to be at centre-half. I'm hearing Arteta use him left how he wants to use him, or, hearing he can play a high line, hearing he's good on the ball, and he's left-footed, so that should complement the side well. But apparently he's only on loan, so it's down to him if he shows enough to convince to make the move permanent, my dude. David Luiz, I think he stays another year, but similar to Socrates and Mustafi, contracted until 2021, 30-odd, well, Mustafi's 27, but you get the point. Someone that we've got to look at moving on. I don't think he goes in the summer. Mavropanos, he's at Nuremberg on loan, had a terrible game against Hamburg, recovered in the last game. The 22-year-old needs to show something in that he's still young, he can still have a career, but he runs the risk of becoming a forgotten man and becoming someone that we loan out and ultimately sell for profit. So I would probably say, out of all of them, if I had to push, I'd say Mustafi, David Luiz, and Socrates. But I don't think three of the most experienced centre-halves, regardless of what I believe in, all three would depart, really. Because we need another centre-half. On top of Saliba, another centre-half should arrive, in my opinion. Obviously, Pablo Mari probably is that. But that complicates us a bit. Marcos Gotti said, what do you really think of Gabriel from Leo? I'm not sure he's the centre-back we need. I think he's alright. He'd be third or fourth choice, but I think he's okay, and I think he can develop a bit. And at this moment in time, really, can he do much worse than some of our defensive options, regardless of form? So, yeah, man. I think finally, oh no, it's not even finally, King has said, would you live in America? I mean, if the police will leave guys alone and make it okay to be a black guy and breathing, then yeah, I'll live in America. I've got family in America. I've been to America. It's a lovely country. I'd probably get diabetes due to my sweet tooth and the food they've got. But I would live in America, really, especially if I can pursue this deluded thing. If if any MLS people want to mess with me, bring me on some match of the day sort of thing, help me get that bag, then, or if you're from America and you're trying to set me up, rude boy. But, yeah, thanks for your question. But on a serious note, back to the serious questions. Lucas said, why are you called Deluded Gooner when you talk the most sense out of everyone on AFTV? It's a bit ironic, isn't it? Long story short, I was called it while playing Xbox Live by a troll or whatever, and it kind of stuck with me. And today's day and age now, it's the word deluded, it kind of reminds me to chase my goals, because you've got to be deluded to believe you can come from humble beginnings and accomplish your goals to a healthy degree. But that's probably it, my guy Luca, man. Hopefully I've put to bed your question. Finally, Y is asked, in terms of raw footballing ability, is our squad the worst of the big six? You know what? There's a truth in. I'm going to say yes, I'm going to say no, because I'm trying to deep it. Liverpool and City, they're banging us, Spurs, I know they got Bergwijn and Ndombele, two very good technical players. Son's good technically, Lo Celso the same. Probably levels in terms of technical ability there. Because what we've got, yeah, man, probably levels there, or probably the worst, to be fair with you. Chelsea, I think their midfielders give them a bit of space with Kovacic, Jorginho, but collectively around the side, I don't know, man. Who would you say? Regardless of what you say, I'd slap Aubameyang there, I'd slap Pepe there, I'd slap Torreira there. He might not be in form, but you said raw footballing ability. Mesut Ozil's there. If I haven't said Martinelli, again, Lacazette in terms of raw footballing ability is quite the technician. So I'd probably say it's a toss-up, really, collectively. I think Spurs have got some more tasty midfield options than us, really, but our individuals probably sound better on paper. Chelsea, sorry, their wingers might be past it, but I know Williams got, you said raw footballing ability, Williams got that. Jorginho and Kovacic, if you was to just put them in a five-a-side, you wouldn't get the ball off them. Other than that, off the top of my head, really struggling. So it depends how you look at it. I think the only two you can really say are clear is Liverpool and City for obvious reasons. And then it's a bit of apples and oranges between the rest, my dude. So it is what it is in that regards. I don't think I'm missing anybody else's questions out, and if I am, apologies, because these are the ones I saw late on, and you can tell from this point I do what I can to, you know, make sure the videos come out, but I've got nothing more to say, so I'm going to keep it moving. People, God bless, Deluded, I'm out.